Today I'm at Rebel Off-Road and we're going to be installing one of their cool new Halo racks and running a new light bar. We're going to be drilling holes, running wires, and we're going to show you everything that we're doing. This is going to give the Gladiator a bunch more storage capability, and we're going to have some cool stuff to show off at SEMA here soon. Now I apologize, my voice is a little crusty. I'm recovering from a cold, but we're going to get through this. Stay tuned. Welcome to TrailRecon, I'm Brad, and today I'm up here in Laguna Hills, California at Rebel Off-Road, where we're going to be installing one of their brand new Halo roof racks on the Gladiator. And before I tell you some of the specs on the roof rack and the light bar and all the stuff we're going to be doing, I want to give a big shout out to these guys. I've been coming up here for years and they are a great shop. They do amazing custom work. They do lots of just standard upgrade stuff, and they've got some great products that you can buy on their website just like this one. And I'm going to leave a link down below. If you watch this video and you decide, man, I got to have one of those roof racks, definitely go down and check it out, guys. It's good quality stuff. Everything they sell, their customer service, great folks. I really appreciate all the support they provided me over the years, and I'm really excited about the install we're doing today. And so to talk about the install we're going to be doing, this is the full-size Halo roof rack. It's 1.5-inch steel tubing, and it's got this really cool Baja design look to it. We're going to be adding the KC Highlights Pro 6 light bar up there. We got to drill a few holes. There's like 8 holes we have to drill to mount the light bar, and then we got to drill a hole to run the wires. The cool thing about this is the full width rack, which is the one I'm going to be installing, but they do sell a shorter rack, and if you order it, you can get it custom powder coated to whatever color you want, which is really kind of trick. I'm really excited to get this up there. This is going to add a lot more capability to my storage capacity, and we're going to have a whole lot more lights when we hit the trail out at night on the desert. So let's go inside and take a close-up look of the rack, and then I'm going to show you the install.
The Halo 2.0 rack was developed in-house at Rebel and can be purchased in bare metal or powder coated. I asked them to match the powder coat of my Lightner bed rack system, and it's a perfect match. The rack has steel grating that is welded to the outer ring and the cross support bars, which add rigidity and strength to the entire rack. It also has front and rear mounts for antennas or a flag whip, details like that I really appreciate. The Halo rack attaches to the roof using a Thule rail system, which allows a little bit of flexibility in how far forward or towards the back you want the rack mounted. They also supply all the necessary hardware. All you'll need are some basic hand tools, tape measure, and a drill to install this yourself. There are a few mounting options you can select for the light bar. The one I chose was the KC Highlights Pro 6 in a 7-light configuration. This is KC's next-gen Pro 6, which has an updated lens and some stronger rings. I've been using the 8-light Pro 6 on my Wrangler for a couple years now, and it puts out a massive amount of light, doesn't have any wind noise, and has held up great to the elements over the years. One of my favorite lights out there. The first order of business was to take the top off to make things a little easier. Because I have the bed rack system in, taking the top off is a little more of a challenge than normal, but thankfully we had several extra sets of hands to help out. Adding a little extra support to the front of the hardtop is helpful in keeping things stable and level. Now, Lance is the technician that is helping me out today, and while they will install your roof rack for you, I want to add that although I'm behind the camera for this install, doing this is pretty easy and straightforward, as you are about to see. In order to mark the holes for drilling on the roof, Lance first mocked up the rail system using the supplied hardware. And once the rail system is all mocked up and secured, we'll put it on the roof to start marking our holes. But first, I know inquiring minds will ask, so here we go. The rack is 60 inches long. It's about 50 1/4 inches wide. It stands 6 inches tall at the platform and just under 10 inches tall on the front where the light bar is mounted. I'll answer a few more of the most common roof rack questions I get asked at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. After the rail system was secured to the rack and everything was aligned, they then placed the rack on the roof and took careful time to ensure we were happy with where it was positioned, and grabbed a few measurements to ensure everything was all squared and lined up properly. Then, using a scribe, which I thought was a great idea, Lance marked the 8 holes that we will be drilling. And if you are considering tackling this project yourself, having an extra set of hands to help with putting the rack on and off is very helpful. All right, now with all the holes marked, using a 1/4-inch drill bit, it's time to start drilling. I drilled the hardtop on my Wrangler, and I was a bit anxious about the thought of drilling my top, but you don't need to stress too much. You can always fill the holes in the fiberglass top pretty easily and re-drill if an accident happens. And if you do have a headliner, just take that into account when you're drilling the holes. Now, I mentioned that we needed to drill 8 holes for the rails. Well, with the rack mounted on the rails on the top, you can only access 3 of the 4 holes to mark for each side. So after drilling the 3 holes, Lance removed the rails and then lined them up with the holes that we drilled so he can mark the 4th hole to be drilled. Now with all the holes finally drilled out, he installed the rail end caps and then added a little silicone around each of the holes to prevent any future water leaking through. Using a little care not to smear the silicone all over the place, the rails can be bolted into place. With all the rails secured to the top, they slid the roof rack onto the rails, but it did help a little bit to loosen up the bolts just to allow a little bit of wiggle room to slide it onto the tracks. Then the remaining end caps were put in place, and using the locking bolts, everything gets tightened up and we're ready to begin installing the light bar and wiring the lights.
All right, so Lance made quick work of installing this onto the hardtop, and I know a lot of you guys are apprehensive about drilling holes into your hardtop, but remember, it's fiberglass, you can repair it, and just measure twice. This was not hard. Now, we do have one more large hole that we gotta drill. We're probably gonna do a 3/8-inch hole because we need to run the wires, and we're gonna do it through the back, and I'll show you here in a little bit, but the connector, the wire loom that comes with the KC highlights, comes with a pretty good wire loom, but you only need, if we're gonna go to the auxiliary port or an S-pod, you only need the white and black wire. So those are all we're gonna use. We cut off the entire rest of the loom, and then we're gonna run some additional wires, and we're gonna use these weather pack connectors, and that'll allow us to disconnect this and still be able to take off the roof. So I'll show you along the way, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of insight about what kind of connectors we're using for this.
With the rack mounted, it's just easier to drill the hole for the wire from underneath. So just a couple quick measurements to see where you want the hole. I really like where Lance decided to drill the hole right behind the roof rack leg. This just gives it a really clean appearance when you're looking directly from the side of the vehicle. With all the wires zip tied up, you have to look really close to see where the wire goes into the hardtop. Oh, and don't forget to add a little silicone around the wire hole. We don't want any leaks. Lance took care to connect all the wires and really made everything look super clean. I was very impressed with the wiring job. It was then time to install the now just a little heavier roof back onto the Gladiator. Next, it was time to hop into the Jeep and begin removing all the plastic trim to route the wires through. The trim comes off pretty easily, and there is plenty of room to route the wires underneath. Now, I opted to connect the light bar to the existing auxiliary switches in the Gladiator, and Jeep makes it easy by having everything pre-wired for the switches and a ground in the footwell that you can use. The lights worked great, and I can't wait to put them to good use out in the desert.
So we have fast forwarded a couple days, and the reason I wanted to wait to wrap up this video is because I wanted to drive around with the roof rack up there for a few days so I could give some feedback and answer some questions that I've gotten in the past about roof racks. But let me just say, I am super happy with how this turned out. It looks so good up there, and it is so sturdy. They did a great job with this. All right, one question that I know I'm gonna get is how much wind noise does it make? And to be honest, I didn't hear any. I was driving on the freeway doing 75. I didn't notice any. My wife didn't notice any. It's very quiet. The Pro 6 light bar in itself is very quiet, and I did a video on that a while back, and I'll leave a link down below if you want to go get some more information about that light bar. I think it just complements the rack. It just fits the front so well. It's such an awesome design. Okay, another question I'm going to get is how much weight does this roof rack hold? And well, these guys have fabricated this themselves. They haven't done any official weight testing, but they said, you know, you're really kind of limited by the fiberglass roof, and they don't recommend any more than about 200 pounds. So that means you're not going to throw a rooftop tent up there and get up there and sleep with you and your spouse or whatever. But look, you want to throw some cargo boxes up there, throw some bags, some fuel, some water, which is exactly what I'm going to be using it for. This is perfect. And I like the way the rails are designed on here, so it spreads the weight out a little bit. I think the top is going to hold up just perfectly.
And one other very important design feature that I almost forgot to mention is you can still remove the Freedom hardtop panels with the roof rack on, so on those nice sunny days you can still soak it up. A very nice feature of this roof rack.
Another question I'm going to get is, can I still fit in my garage? And the Gladiator on 35s still fits in my garage, just barely. So that's good news. The bad news is the Gladiator's about to get a little bit taller here next week. We'll be talking more about that soon. But if I wanted to take the roof rack off, it's only 8 bolts holding it on, and then just connect a wire from the light bar, and that thing will pop right off, and then I'll still be able to get in the garage. So that's nice to know, because we're going to need to get in the garage quite a bit for some of the future projects we've got. A big thanks to Rebel Off-Road and Casey Highlights. They're great folks to work with. I will leave a link down below where you can go check out this rack. I think you'll be very happy with it. It does come for the Gladiator, the JL, or the JK. If you are visiting TrailRecon for the first time, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you as a member of the TrailRecon team. Thanks for watching.